Tired of your old kitchen or bathroom? Upgrade to the home of your dreams with Manny and Courtney from CMK Construction. CMK Construction is Tampa's award-winning kitchen and bath leader for over 20 years. Right now, save $3,000 on a new kitchen and $2,000 on a new bathroom. And take advantage of our no money down and no interest financing until 2026. Imagine, design, build.
Streaming from the Tampa Bay 28 Weather Center in Studio A. This is Dennis Phillips Live Plus. Brought to you by CMK Construction, crafting Tampa's most exquisite bathrooms and kitchens.
How you doing, everybody? It is a Wednesday night edition of DPL, or as we call it on Wednesday nights, DPL Plus. The plus kind of came about just because it's one of those things where sometimes we get our news anchors that come out, sometimes we have our reporters that come out, and they try to share some of the stories that they've been creating for the community. And a lot of these stories come from y'all. They come from you to our reporters to our anchors, and then we've been using DPL Plus on Wednesdays as a way to kind of share some of that. But tonight, we're talking tropics. We're talking cold front. So welcome. Let's do some hellos as we always do. Again, if you're watching on the spot, thank you very much. Appreciate you watching on TV. You can follow along the chat group on social media, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, all of the above. You can chat and I can see your comments. Do my best to respond to most of them. Ryan, how you doing? Bridget, as always, good to see you. Stephen in Clearwater, Anna Maria, Kevin, roll tide. I'm guessing that Kevin is a Bama grad. Don, good to see you. Spring Hill's in the house with Lauren. Ruskin with Cheryl. We've got Steve. Bro, nice to see you. Yes, we are going to talk tropics, no doubt. Carol in Clearwater. And Debbie from Spring Hill, good to see you. Newport Richie's in the house with Linda. Dave, Newport Richie, Beth. Lots and lots of folks in here. Typically when we get a hurricane or a potential hurricane, we get a lot more folks, and that is what we have going on. I'll be answering your questions toward the end of the show, as well as on social after the TV show is off. But we do have a lot to talk about. I'm watching my daughter on Game Changer. Anybody who has kids who play ball, very familiar with Game Changer. When you work nights, you have to miss a lot of the games. All my daughter's games are Wednesdays and Fridays now, so I'm working, so this is the way that we follow along, which is a plus. But boy, we have got a lot to talk about. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let's just jump in right now and start with a look at the satellite picture. Now, we are gonna get an 8 o'clock update shortly. I would not expect much of a change. So Alyssa, how you doing in Holiday? As always, so Lindsay's going to Punta Cana November 1st. Should you be concerned? Possibly. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go through the timelines, and then hopefully that'll answer a lot of your questions, okay? So here's the latest, winds of 50 miles an hour. Now, the first thing you notice is look where that tropical storm icon is centered. That's the center of circulation, right? Where is all of the weather, the rough weather, the wind, the rain with it? East of it. Why is that? Because it's facing a rather strong westerly shear. Literally, all the quote-unquote weather is being bumped off to the east of that storm. So until that shear goes away, we would not anticipate any kind of intensification. But we believe that shear will go away in the next day or two. And when it does, this is what's going to happen. Here's the latest track from the NHC. Now remember, tracks are updated every 6 hours. There'll be an intermediate advisory at 8 o'clock. That is not an updated track. That's just updated current stats. The updated track is every 6 hours, 11 p.m., 5 a.m., 11 a.m., and 5 p.m. I don't know if this is true or not, but my memory probably serves me correct here. I'm usually pretty good at this kind of stuff when it comes to memory. The NHC is forecasting rapid intensification with this storm 3 to 4 days out. And let's go ahead and take it full so you can kind of see it a little bit better. It's going from a tropical storm to a Cat 1 to a Cat 3 to a Cat 4 on day 3, 4, and 5. I have never seen, ever, the NHC forecast rapid intensification that far out. Usually it's 24, maybe to 48 hours. So this is what we have been talking about now for 6 weeks. The Caribbean has not been touched by a tropical system the entire year. There have been no named storms. So the water is insanely warm, even at the end of October. While it is impacted by shear now, there are 2 scenarios, and I'm going to show you both of them in just a minute. The GFS, and I just checked, the latest 18Z GFS is still predicting a storm that is not going to take this track. It is going to go north and stay north. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and show you that. All right, let's go ahead and take that graphic. So the GFS is pretty much the only model that, to quote Tom Petty, has not backed down. It is continuing to show a track that goes north. Here's the GFS, all right? That's Friday evening at 8 o'clock. Saturday morning, 8 o'clock. Sunday night, 8 o'clock. Sunday night, Monday, and then it goes across Haiti and the Dominican. So it has slowed down somewhat. Originally, it was bringing it in Saturday. So it is still slowing down. So even if the GFS is right, this is feet of rain for Haiti and the Dominican. Not inches, feet of rain. All right? But I want to show you something. There is the GFS at 8 o'clock on Sunday night. Look at where the euro is. GFS, euro. GFS, euro. Clearly not identical. Not even close to it. So, when you have a system that there's this vast of a difference in the models, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. This forecast is not set in stone, but the majority of the models are scoffing at the GFS, which I often do anyway, and taking a route north, west, southwest, and stalling it out south of Jamaica. All right, we'll be back in a minute. We're going to take a look at some of these ridiculous high-resolution model forecasts that are downright scary in terms of intensity. But you guys know me on this show. I never, ever say, don't go on a vacation, because I don't want to be wrong and have it cost you money. I don't want to say cancel a trip because of something, because if it's wrong and it costs you money, I would feel terrible. Not as terrible as you, but I would feel terrible. I am telling you, you do not want to go to the Caribbean this weekend. You do not want to go to Puerto Rico. Well, Puerto Rico is on the fringe. You do not want to go to the Dominican. You do not want to go to Jamaica. At the very least, there's going to be a lot of rain there regardless. But my big concern, probably more than any, is Jamaica. You do not want to go to Jamaica this weekend, even if this doesn't impact Jamaica until early next week. I mean, yes, if the GFS is right and it pulls a a northeast turn and bypasses Jamaica, I suppose that is a possibility. But I'm just going to call them like I see them right now on this particular example. I would not go anywhere near, personally me, I would not go anywhere near the island of Jamaica this weekend. I would not. And the reason is because the NHC has a Cat 4 hurricane there on Monday, or close to it. It's south, but impacts will still be felt, which means the island would be shut down regardless. So y'all do what you have to do, but I'm telling you, with me or my family, I would never go to Jamaica this weekend or early next week knowing there could be a Cat 5 hurricane down there. The NHC says a Cat 4. Some of the models are predicting the strongest hurricane ever to form in the Caribbean out of this storm by early next week. Stronger than Wilma. Stronger than Michael. And I'll show you those models, and we'll take a closer look at that coming up in 90 seconds as DPL continues. Okay, so we are in a break. Thank you, Ashley, for their alarm clocks. That's just perfect. So let me go back to my Facebook page here now and see what we got. So Puerto Rico, as I just said, Puerto Rico is on the fringe. But here, I'll show you that. Look, I have not said any place is okay. I mean, you're not going to ever catch me on that. I did say it won't be as bad as other places. But look, so here's the GFS, all right? This is Saturday. Puerto Rico is way to the right. So honestly, the impacts will be extremely slim. They're going to get rain out of it, and maybe a lot of rain. But by far, the worst would be the Dominican, Haiti. And even notice the GFS, it really never impacts Jamaica. I mean, if the GFS pulls a coup and it's right, then Jamaica would be okay. But is it worth taking the chance considering you might see that? So that's the big question. Here, we're coming back to TV in just a second. Let's go ahead and take this. Welcome back to Dennis Phillips Live on the Spot. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I always encourage y'all to watch on social as well as TV to kind of best of both worlds. So someone just mentioned Puerto Rico and asked about Puerto Rico, and it's a valid question. And I'm going to go ahead and take this full and show you why the impacts on Puerto Rico are going to be significantly lower. So here's a look at the GFS. And this is something I do want to stress in terms of talking about Jamaica, okay? All right. Here's Friday, here's Saturday. Even the GFS keeps this west of Puerto Rico. There's going to be some rain out of it, but the worst by far will be west of Puerto Rico. Now, if the GFS is right and it pulls a coup and every other model is wrong and it is right, then this will miss Jamaica pretty much entirely. Okay? So I have to throw this out. I have to throw this out. Because, look, the GFS is still a model that, like, and every now and again, a blind squirrel finds a nut. But when you have Monday, there's your GFS over Haiti, and the Euro has a 945 millibar Category 4 or 5 hurricane very near Jamaica, is it worth taking the chance? That's the bottom. That's the bottom line. How you doing, Jamil? Is it worth taking the chance? Now, I'm going to show you something here. All right? I want you to look at a particular model. This is called the HAFS A, okay? This is a high-resolution hurricane model. And what you look at on this is the maximum. There's a couple of things you would look at. Maximum winds and the pressure. So during this time period, this model is predicting maximum winds of 180 miles an hour and the pressure of 910 millibars. So during that duration, and there it is. And that is a classic buzzsaw look. Now, I will tell you these high-resolution hurricane models, more often than not, are a little bit overzealous in the intensity of a storm. But I'll say it again. Here's Jamaica. Here's the storm. Yes, the GFS might be right, but is it worth taking that chance? I say no. I say no. But that's just me. Caymans, same thing. Same thing. Jennifer's cruising out of Miami. I'll answer individual questions coming up at the end of the show. So let's go ahead and look at some of the spaghetti models. This is the Google DeepMind AI model. It's been doing pretty good. Look at the variants. Farthest west is Andros Island, which is exactly, by the way, what the Canadian is showing. Would have an impact on Nassau. So if this west side is accurate, there would be impacts to cruises out of Miami and Port Canaveral on November 1, by the way, because this is probably around October 30th or the 31st. There would certainly be surf and rough seas on the East Coast. If it's split in the difference down the middle, you would be eastern Bahamas, but the western Bahamas, Nassau, Freeport areas would not be impacted as much. None of the models, zero of the models go into the Gulf. None. That's not to say things can't change, but I'm never going to go with the what ifs and spend much time when literally 0 of 51 models or 31 models, depending on what you're looking at, go into that area. It's not worth our time. Here's the Euro. The Euro ensembles, same setup. Looks almost identical, doesn't it? Look at the west side, Andros Island, Nassau. Look at the right side, the Dominican. Not even the Dominican, Haiti. The overwhelming majority is from central and eastern Cuba through Haiti as a Cat 3 or Cat 4 hurricane. How many go into the Gulf? None. Zero. Bupkis, right? Now, here's the GFS. The GFS ensembles. The GFS is going to die on that hill because it is not changing its mind. And you know what? That's okay. That is okay. If it's right, you know what? We cannot ignore it. It is a fine model, right? But we simply cannot ignore that. So there are your ensembles. But at the end of the day, this to me is the best way to compare them. Friday morning, GFS, Friday morning, Euro. The Euro has already started its westward track. Saturday morning, GFS, not nearly as strong. Tropical storm going into Haiti, impacting the Dominican. Look at the Euro, way west. Way west. Sunday morning, GFS still hanging out there, same spot, hasn't moved much. 975 millibar Cat 2 hurricane south of Jamaica, if the Euro's right. So by Monday afternoon and Monday evening, you've got the GFS is already exiting. It is a hurricane, 988 millibars. You've got a 988 millibars north of the Dominican, or you have a Cat 3 or Cat 4 hurricane due south of Jamaica. GFS, Euro, all right? And then that one goes out, and the Euro, the operational run, takes it out in the eastern Bahamas and goes out to sea. So there you have it. But unfortunately, my friends, we don't have the answer yet. We certainly feel pretty good about the fact this is not going into the Gulf, considering none of the ensembles are showing that it will. The western fringe of the ensemble range is Andros Island. The eastern is Haiti, and it's probably going to be somewhere in between. So I'll say it again. In my opinion, I would not go to Jamaica or the islands this weekend. Puerto Rico is probably going to be okay. Even if you don't get direct impacts from this storm, there's going to be 20 to 30 inches of rain in some spots. In those mountains, that is significant mudslide. It's a big issue. Talk a little bit more about that, answer your questions, and talk about the models are not backing down on a major cool snap for us on Halloween. More on that coming up in 90 seconds. So there we go. I will give you, let's see, is Ryan up? I think my daughter is up. Stand by. Looks like the stream just paused, though. Well, that's unfortunate. It did. Man, I can't watch. Oh, there we go. Stand by. Oh, it paused again. Unacceptable. Who's running Game Changer? Coach is, Coach is talking to her. That seems odd. Why would you go down in the middle of the at-bat and have a conversation? Or no, maybe this is delayed. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, all right, so when we get back to TV, we're going to talk about the other stuff because I absolutely I think the Euro is going to be right. I don't think the GFS is going to be right. I don't. All right, Ryan walked. All right, so she walked. Okay, she's on first. Tying run at first. Okay, we are back in 14 seconds. FSU, if you're in Florida. FSU, Bill. FSU is the best meteorological institution. Jeff, I see you saying the 18Z icon is similar to the Euro. We are back to Dennis Phillips Live on the spot. Thanks for joining us. Again, there's two camps, the GFS and a few other models going more north and east. Here's the way it plays out. If the storm gets stronger, it's going to go north and east. If it stays weak and ragged, it's going to go more west and then get stronger down the road. So it's a tough call. I mean, I guess our hope is probably it stays weak and goes more north. Don't know how much of an option that is. All right, let's talk about our next cold front. And then at the end, I will be answering your questions about the storm, the track, and anything else you want to talk about. Oh, boy. So Dana says our honeymoon starts in Montego Bay November 2nd. Dana, all I can tell you is that if the GFS is right, you're fine. If the Euro is right, even though the storm will be gone, I would expect widespread power outages for days in Jamaica. Don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but that's what I see. So you're rooting for the GFS. You're rooting more of a northerly track and a weaker system, which would bypass Jamaica entirely. Again, either is a possibility, but right now I'm leaning more towards Euro. All right, let's talk, and I'll answer your questions. I do want to get into this stuff because we do have TV. All right, now, so here's a look at the GFS versus the Euro. You all know that the Euro, I've told you this many times, the Euro is far more bullish on cold air. It always has a cold bias. So here is the Euro right here for next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Look at that 540 line. Look at that freezing line going down to northern Georgia next Thursday. And then there goes the storm, by the way. So the Euro is bringing the cold air, the 540 line, all the way down to Georgia next Thursday. The GFS, well, it's got a different situation. It's got a coastal low developing, which will also bring down some cold air, but with a different way. They both have lows. Look at the Euro, look at the GFS. GFS is a stronger low. That is not the hurricane, by the way. That's a 991 millibar non-tropical system that could be a darn strong storm off the mid-Atlantic as a no-named kind of a storm. The Euro is much weaker, but it is still there. They both bring down cold air. How cold, you ask? Where is that map? Check it out. This is the Euro, all right? This is the Euro on Saturday, November 1st. Look at those temperatures. Low to mid 40s for lows on Saturday, November 1st. All right? The Euro has a cold bias. I'll say it again. It's almost always too cold. But holy cow, look what it's showing. Look at what it's showing for the trick-or-treaters on Friday night Halloween this is actually at 2 p.m., and it's in the mid-60s. So 8 p.m. on Halloween night, 50s and low 60s. That is the Euro, okay? That is a snuggle alert, Liz. You are correct. Now, I'm telling you, Sabatino, how you doing, my man? I'll tell you what, I think it's overdoing it. I don't think it's going to be nearly that cold, but it has not backed down yet. It's 9 days out. It's been showing it for days. And now that the GFS is also showing cold air, not to that degree, but it leads to GFS is an interesting setup because if that secondary low develops off the mid-Atlantic, that will also draw down cold air. And at the same time, you're going to have a tropical storm type of a storm, non-tropical, but another nor'easter off the mid-Atlantic. So things are going to get crazy next week. Mid-Atlantic potential non-tropical, 40s for Florida potentially on November 1, chilly air for trick-or-treaters, and of course, potentially a Cat 5 hurricane in the Caribbean. So yeah, we got lots and lots of stuff to talk about. In terms of the tropics, it's a day-to-day situation. But I do think realistically, within a day or so, we'll know if the GFS is right or the Euro is right. If the GFS is right, there's no threat to Jamaica. If the Euro is right, there's a massive threat to Jamaica. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and answer your questions in our Heat Lightning round coming up in 90 seconds as DPL continues. Okay, by the way, I was just going to say, where are my break times? Ashley just gave it to me. So there we go. Thank you, Ashley. All right. So we have got some wild weather ahead. All right, let's go ahead and take this map, and I will be answering questions. And we just tied it up. Ryan just scored. So there you go. That's a good thing. Yeah, it's, you know what? We'll just have to see. The NHC is clearly going, why is the hurricane so intense, Terry wants to know? Because the water is ridiculously warm. Super warm, no shear, pristine conditions for development. And Friday to Monday cruise to the Bahamas, you're probably okay. Because if this were to cross over and impact the Bahamas, it would probably be Wednesday or Thursday. So I think you're going to be okay. Big trough digging down will lift it up before it has a chance to go into the Gulf. That's why it is not a Florida storm at this point. I have done storm chasing. I chased several hurricanes in the past, including Hurricane Rita back in 2005. That was a doozy. All right, we are back in our 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to our last segment, Dennis Phillips Live. If you're watching on the spot, we are here every night. Actually, I take that back. I think the Bolts play tomorrow night. So tomorrow night, we will be live on streaming. We got lots to talk about. I'm going to continue answering your questions on social, all right? But for TV folks, if you're just tuning in, what you're looking at, while the GFS is forecasting a northerly track, clearly the official Hurricane Center track is not. They are going with the Euro, and they are bringing a westerly track south of Jamaica as a Cat 4 hurricane. In my opinion, if this track does happen, this ends up Cat 5. The water is ridiculously warm, conditions are pristine for development, and eventually a trough is going to come down and pull this storm northeast. More than likely, we're talking an area of mid-Cuba to Haiti, middle of next week. So we'll be tracking this for a week. Because it does slow down and nearly stall, it does need to be watched for some unexpected changes in the positioning of those troughs. I say it again, I would avoid the Caribbean this weekend. That's my suggestion. If you're watching on the spot, thank you very much. Have a great night. Same for streaming, and we'll be back tomorrow night on our next edition of DPL. Okay, so we are clear now for TV, and now I can just answer questions. Let's see what the new numbers are. See what the 8 p.m. update is. I'll go ahead and show it to you. Just got a text from a former employee here, Charlie Paul. Charlie, what did you say? Let me see. What was Charlie saying? He's drinking a rule number 7 beer. So there you go. So Melissa cannot stop my golf game. You're correct. So anyway, all right, here's a look at the 8 o'clock advisory. Melissa moving very slowly in the Central Caribbean, still at 50-mile-an-hour winds. It is literally practically stationary, moving west at 1 mile an hour. All right, hurricane watch for Haiti, tropical storm watch for Jamaica, same as yesterday. Here's the discussion. Center of Tropical Storm Melissa was located by a recon aircraft drifting west at 1 mile an hour. A slow forward speed and gradual turn to the northwest and north-northwest is forecast in the next couple of days, followed by a westward turn this weekend. Melissa is expected to be near to Jamaica and the southwestern portion of Haiti later this week. So there you have it. So again, that's not saying it's the way it's going to play out eventually, but it is saying that the Hurricane Center is writing off the GFS and going with the Euro. Okay? Okay. So that was your 8 o'clock update. All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to scroll down now and see what questions we have. Let's see, I'm scrolling up. Bahamas cruise 27 to 31st. You should be okay. Oh no, through the 31st? 31st is dicey. 30th and 31st is dicey, Jan. Another cruise, 2nd to the 9th, it'll be over by then. So the back half of your Bahamas cruise could be dicey. If it's on the eastern fringe, then you're going to probably be okay. It'll be rough, but it'll be okay. If it's on the western side of that, you may have some issues. Bahamas on November 3rd, Robin wants to know. You're probably okay. It should be through by then. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you. Okay, so here is the Euro on the 30th. No, it's a GFS. Here is the Euro on the 30th. No, it isn't. What is this I'm looking at? What in the world is this I'm looking at? Oh, no. Oh, duh, I was looking too far out. I was going to say, that doesn't make sense. Here's the Euro on the 27th. No, that's the GFS. It's absolutely the GFS. Okay, let's go back. Here's the Euro on the 25th. All right, Euro on Saturday. Euro on the 26th. Euro on the 27th. Euro on the 28th. Euro on the 29th. Euro on the 30th. So the Euro actually, I was right the first time. The Euro does take it out by the 30th. And there's the Eastern Bahamas on the 30th. Now, the only concern I would have is if you were to look at the Canadian model, which you guys know I'm not a super fan of the Canadian model, but the Canadian model is kind of like on the fringe of what the West Ensemble numbers are showing. And you see what that shows. That's the one that right here. And then goes up. Actually, that's not even the Canadian. This is an update because the Canadian was showing that and now it isn't. So that's even better. But look, there are some models that continue to go north as opposed to west. See that? And there definitely are. Into Haiti, into eastern Cuba. So this is not a set in stone west track from the Hurricane Center, but I'm merely telling you that as of right now, that is what the Hurricane Center is saying. So honestly, any answer that I give you probably is premature until we know for a fact that this is going to go west. Okay, I'll break it down into two scenarios and then we'll call it a night. And I'll break it into both scenarios with the GFS versus the Euro in terms of your time frame. So go ahead and watch this, okay? All right, go ahead and watch this. Watch this closely, and then figure out your time frames, okay? We are going to start with the GFS. This is this Friday, the 24th. Friday night, the 24th. The storm is just south of Haiti. Lots of rain, lots of really lousy weather in the Dominican and in Haiti. Puerto Rico getting rain, but not the worst of the storm. This is the 25th. This is the GFS's prediction. The 25th, right on top of Haiti and the Dominican. The 26th, still not moving much, right on top of the Dominican and Haiti. Lots of rain, 20 inches of rain. 20 inches, that's 987. That's a hurricane. 20 inches of rain over the islands of Haiti and the Dominican if the GFS is right this weekend. There's Monday. All right? And then by Tuesday, the 28th, it goes away and it's gone. So there's your time frame. If the GFS is right, it's the 24th to the 28th, and then gone. The euro. Here's the euro on the 25th. South of Jamaica, much less for Haiti and the Dominican. A lot of rain, but very little tropical storm or hurricane conditions. Here is Sunday. This is Saturday the 25th. This is Sunday the 26th. Jamaica's right there. The 26th, totally different. GFS, euro. GFS, euro. I simply can't answer where for your specific vacation plans because it literally is one extreme to the other. And until we are sure where this is going to go, it's impossible to answer these vacation trips. Now, I'll tell you again, I would not go to Jamaica because if this west track is right, you're looking at a Cat 5 hurricane. But that's just me. If you're a gambling person, then hey, that's for you. I would not, and I'm a gambler, and I would not do that. Here's the euro on the 25th, 26th, 26th, 27th in the morning, still south of Jamaica. 27th in the evening, still south of Jamaica. 28th in the morning, still south of Jamaica. 28th in the evening, starting to lift north as the trough begins to pull it. 29th, it starts to head that way. Interestingly enough, eastern Cuba as a Cat 5 hurricane. The euro is bringing a Cat 5 into eastern Cuba or Haiti. That's the 29th. Okay, there's the 29th. There's the 30th. There's the 30th at night, and by Halloween, it's gone. So, your time frame, anything from the 31st on, you are good. Okay? You are good. But from the 26th to the 30th, you're looking at, again, look at Tuesday morning's GFS, look at Tuesday morning's euro. I mean, come on. Look at that massive difference. So to put it simply, my friends, we simply cannot answer yet. Hopefully tomorrow we will be able to. I'll be updating 24/7 as new model runs come in. But the Hurricane Center, the experts, the Hurricane Center, their official prediction is that west track, and I'll show it to you one more time. The official prediction from the NHC is this. All right? There it is. So, might they say, hey, wait a minute, the GFS is going to be right, and we're going to have to change this to more of a straight line northeast. Maybe they will. But right now, the majority of the models are bringing this south into Jamaica or south of Jamaica as a Cat 4 or a Cat 5 hurricane. The other ones, the GFS, the 18Z Icon, as someone mentioned, the German model, brings it in as a hurricane to Haiti and the Dominican this weekend. This is real tough Because if it goes west, it's not going to have nearly the impact on the Dominican as it would. If it goes east, it's not going to have any impact on Jamaica. So we're still too early to give you a definitive answer. That's what I got. All right, guys, updates 24/7 as always, and we will be back. And I'll be doing my 60-second updates as well, some videos throughout the night. And we'll be back tomorrow night, not on TV tomorrow because of the Bolts game. So we'll be back on streaming and on Facebook tomorrow night at 7:30 on our next edition of DPL. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.